Well, he'll be next up after this match on the main table, playing JJ Fall of South Africa. They both won their first match earlier today by 9 racks to 0. 3 wins required on this side of the draw to get through. And of course, if you lose a match, you go to the loser's side. We'll be seeing the first matches in that a little later today.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, a guy who had an incredible story and an even better run at the World Pool Masters, I think that event alone will do wonders for James Aranis moving forward in these bigger events.
Yeah, he's in action on one of the main tables at the moment, and just as you speak there, he's gone 4-0 up against Pierre Francesco Garcia.
I think out of all the big names today, Michael, maybe Fedor Gorst had a little bit, more of a nervous start, or let's say a close match halfway through. It was at 4-4 or 5-5 with Anthony Ginn before Fedor kind of took the reins and won that match.
Yeah, pulled away to win 9-4. That 9 was thinking about it for a moment.
Yeah, only to get snookered by the Black 8. A nice break off here, though. The 1 in the side. Lots of action on the balls. Very difficult push-out situation, though, with the 9 looming. Really, where do you go from here? You can't leave the kiss shot on the 9. You certainly can't roll out to a combination. And this is where experience really is huge. The push-out is part of the game that really separates, I think, some of the players, and it's obvious also at times. I'm very interested to see, I know Darren made a little comeback at the Scottish Open, right, to start playing again, and very curious to see how he does. And I don't think there's a lot of expectation there. I'm more curious to see his stamina and, just how he's feeling overall, win or lose. Love to see him get his strength back as quick as he can.
Yeah, Darren Appleton you're referring to there, who's had big health problems, but great to see him here. Part of a huge British contingent in the field.
And of course, Great Britain bringing the most players, but pretty impressive what Greece has done, I think, bringing some 16 players into the event. I think probably the smartest push, gives himself a chance. Don't think he's going after the 9. That looks pretty hard play, but nice contact on the blue 2. He's going to serve up a shot to, not much of a shot to America's finest.
Heading a contingent of 13 US players in the field. Reached the semi-finals of the inaugural UK Open last year.
Yeah, and I think you may see a name that hasn't run so deep from one of the Americans here this week. Maybe a name we haven't, Jeremy Sosa is one that rings a bell to me. I haven't seen a ton of him at times in the bigger events, and he made an effort to make sure getting into this event, and I think he plans on playing more of them as the year goes on. Very fine player from the upper northeast of America. Caught the double kiss there on the bank. Really was hemmed up, didn't have much of an opportunity. I think the blue 2 may squeeze by the pink 4. He's overrun a little bit on the cue ball, and I think Shane can get at this blue 2. It's going to be a stretch. Good to see Carlo Beato back out at it. Had a little visa issues there for a while, and now back where he's supposed to be with the greatest players in the world.
Yeah, had a very good run at winning another US Open back in October in Atlantic City.
Well, it's just like any other sport. When the conditions are tough and the nerves are at its highest, and it seems like the titles are the biggest, certain names are going to be in there, you figure, and they shown us that's true, and Carlo's definitely one of those guys. Former world 9-ball champion. I think it took runner-up maybe twice. I know he did once at least, I believe, and always it seemed like the final 8 in that world 9-ball.
Arguably, it helps Nuutinen having an opening rack like this, give him a chance to get on the table a bit, feel his way into it.
Yeah, absolutely, and looks like a very confident player. We'll see when he gets a chance to get going offensively. Can't do a whole lot with the red 3 here. He may kind of bleed the cue ball at the 9. Possibly making the 9, maybe getting behind it or leaving a long shot on the 3. We'll see. Okay, this is not going to make the 9, but again, going to leave something difficult on the red 3. Position pretty natural coming across, probably a little bump on the black 8. We'll see. Another reason why I like James Aranas so much is the way he broke the balls at the World Pool Masters. Gets the nerves by him. We saw how great he can play, but the game still, the break is a big part of it. And I sure like the way he breaks them. I think there's another player at the table now in a match that it's definitely a future part of our game, but it may come a little nearer future than we all think with Moritz Neuhausen. I really like that kid's game from Germany, and what a level head he has on them shoulders as well.
We were talking about the big British contingent here when we had the first European Open in Fulda last summer. So many new names emerged from Germany.
Yeah, and Phil and I in our first match today were talking about the difference, and I think the UK has a lot of great cueists. It just seems like Germany has more experience in the game of 9-ball itself.
And someone who has huge experience, and a lot of it is experience of winning big titles. Shane van Boening winning the opening rack here. And we saw a professional snooker player on the main table in the last match get through comfortably in the end. It looks like another player from the World Snooker Tour is on his way to victory as well, because David Lilly, a former World Ranking Event quarter-finalist from the northeast of England, is leading Scott Hunter in an all-British clash by 5 racks to 0. Mario He, much more familiar name on the pool scene, closing in on victory at 7-2 against Adam Lewis. And Alban Ocean has started out in his match against Britain's Philip Wildman. Early stages there, it's 1 rack apiece. And you mentioned Darren Appleton, Jeremy. Well, he's playing against Talal Al-Blushi of Kuwait. They're in their opening rack.
Yeah, and I think Alban has his hands full with Phil. I think for an opening match, one of the more difficult matches for the highly seeded players. Phil's won a couple of the, I think it's Ultimate 9-ball here tour they have, a smaller tour, but a very dominant player on that tour and a very offensive-minded player. So dangerous, I think, for Alban early a little bit. Saw the cue ball get lost there on the break. With the cut break, we will see that throughout the week. And just at first glance, Shane took a little speed off of his normal. I think he's realizing he has to have a variety of breaks. So our first offensive look at Juuso. I like him doing this. A lot of players would say play the safety, but he can get the cue ball behind. Balls are open. He should be able to follow into position. Now it looks like he's going to go ahead and play maybe the safety. Should be a good one, knocking the one down table, keeping the cue ball behind the brown 7. Could put the one a couple rails below the pink 4 and the green 6. Yeah, trying to make the attack angle on the kick shot that much smaller. This is a soft kick, kind of 2 rails, trying to keep your accuracy. If you can hit the 1, the pink 4 can certainly come into play for a return snooker. Shouldn't be at a very high speed. Oh, what a hit. And the man playing James Aranis, even though I don't know him, but even though down 5-0, seems to cue the ball pretty well. Just ran through the last rack, just had a little mistake, kind of creep in. But
yeah, Aranis 5-0 in front against Pier Francesco Garcia. We will see this, I think, throughout the day. It's the nature of an event like this that established names are going to end up winning matches very comfortably in a lot of cases, but we'll also see 1 or 2 of them inevitably struggle. You think back to last year, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz lost his first match and was 6-0 down over on the loser's side. Could have gone out in day 1, ended up battling through to reach the final. So there will be some players among the title contenders who find the going tough on day 1, but a lot of them will get through very quickly.
and little did we know, but Francisco knew maybe why so much pressure on him last year to kind of unleash everything he's done after that loser side match. He was down 6-0, got to the semifinal, and then the last 12 months or so has been history, and pretty incredible history at that.
Yeah, I think in terms of matchroom events, it was here last year that it really started for him, this incredible vein of form he's had, and of course we'll be seeing him here.
Yeah, didn't see much of him at the World Pool Masters. Really an odd match that he lost, not only as a big favorite, but kind of like SVB, just some very uncharacteristic shots, and kind of left you wondering, kind of questioning what happened. First for real power stroke of the man from Finland.
I think we see sometimes in these open events when you have a huge name against a lesser known name, what often happens is the big name races out into a 4, 5, 6-0 lead, and then eventually when the other player does get a chance, they're so far behind, they're feeling the pressure out there, they just can't really capitalize on it. So massively important to try and get a rack on the board early on, and a chance here, but that's not ideal.
No, not even close to ideal, and I'm not sure he can avoid the 9 going forward or backwards with the cue ball. So a shot like this, you can get very involved with the cue ball, kind of lose focus on the 8 itself.
An early test, this shot, really, of just how comfortable he does feel in this environment.
Oh, nice pot on the 8, nothing easy on the 9. I would stay aggressive here, attacking with the cross corner bank.
This for 1-1 then.
purposely played the cue ball up table just for a scenario like this of missing the 9. Maybe it escapes being right in front of the corner, and that's the case. So a big shot for Shane. Probably a long rail bank.
Generally, when you pass up a good chance to win a rack against someone like Shane van Boening, that's the end of story. But straight away, Juuso Nuutinen gets a reprieve and another opportunity to level early on. And this time he's managed to do it. You were saying Albin Ocean would have his work cut out against Phil Wildman. You were absolutely right, because Wildman has just gone 4-2 in front in that one. And Lucius Yap has won the first couple of racks against James Welch on table 11.
Yeah, and we talk about all the players could struggle a little early, but Albin's kind of known for that at times as well. So I thought the combination of a player that's very dangerous and not afraid to go down offensively as Phil is, combination of that and maybe a mistake we don't expect from Albin could serve us up, I think, our closest match for a highly ranked player.
Ocean, of course, returning to the scene of that remarkable 9-0 defeat to Robbie Capito last year. And when Antan is through, 9-2 against James Oyengoran of Britain. The latest result in.
Really nice break off in the first after winning the lag. Got the 1 down. Ball spread nicely. One hit a little high there. The cue ball's gonna get lost. Now SVB with ball in hand. Tricky little rack, it looks like. Position on the 3. May follow the 1 in the other side pocket here. He's going to check to see. Instead of drawing back off this one, I like kind of following into that position, but both are okay. Now he's perfect to slide 1 rail behind the 6.
He just cruised through the early stages of this event last year. It was only a matter of weeks, really, since he had won the World Championship for the first time, and a lot of people were expecting him to back it up with another victory in the south of England here at the UK Open. I remember him beating Mark Bijsterbosch 11-1 to get through to the quarterfinals, and he was given a bit of a workout by his fellow American Skylar Woodward in the last 8. Came through 11-7 in the end. But then, of course, ran into Sanchez Ruiz and was beaten 11-4 in the semi-final. I remember there was a refereeing controversy early on in that match and seemed to throw him a bit.
Yeah, and I think that match really kind of set the tone for FSR the rest of the year. I mean, of course, lost in the final, but Filler played an exceptional final. Got awkward here. Kind of played in between. Could have held for more angle with the stop shot there on the 5. Decided to try and draw back, a little let up. Now he's got to manage some maneuvering of the cue ball up the table and then back down. The big 8-ball, black 8-ball kind of in the way. Now he's looking at taking the cut shot on the 7. That's how difficult this is. I think I would have to try and force the cue ball here rather than take the tough shot on the 7. And I'm big about settling, but this looks a little funny to me. all things considered. He'll take that. You're wondering why you won't see some players today, because the new schedule that got brought in last year, which all the players love, where you kind of play in sections. So whoever wins here, these first round matches, will play their second round match here today as well, or at least most will.
Yeah, Joshua Filler, the defending champion, will be among those playing in tomorrow's action. Well, Shane Van Boening ran into a little bit of difficulty there towards the end of the rack, but ultimately the scratch off the break by Nuutinen proves decisive. Van Boening did the rest from there and leads once again at 2-1. Now, Jack Lazowski, who we saw winning earlier, we now know he will play Mieszko Fortunski in the next round. The poll has now closed it out at 9-4 against Steve Higton. Alban Ocean still trailing 4-2 against Phil Wildman. That's certainly one to keep an eye on.
And Fortunski, a player that I always kind of tout. Love his game, love his cue action. You know, he was one of those players trending in the right direction for a couple of years, it seemed like, wondering about that big win. And now this year been pretty quiet overall.
Yeah, had a big year in 21, but I think really the last 12 months or so, he hasn't kicked on the way we might have expected him to.
Now Shane, we've seen a player struggle with on the break here on table one so far, and definitely took a little pace off the rack. Nothing questionable as far as the pace itself, but we're used to seeing him really smash him. Great opening here for Nuutinen. Ball's really laid nicely. There is some work, of course, but I think he can come one rail above to play the red 3 in the same corner pocket. Nothing wrong with the side, though, but with the 8-9 there, the pink 4 doesn't go by the 7 up top. Got to be pretty accurate getting on this side pocket position. Looks decent. Don't know if he can get past the 8 or 8-9. If he can, he should roll up a little past the center of the table. He's really good.
Concerning sign there from the Finn.
Yeah, Shane fell a little funny on this purple 5. Not a ton of angle, but a little bit the wrong angle going away. He's gotten in a little bit of no man's land as well here on the green 6, so he's going to have to float this in. Doesn't want the cue ball to carry too far down the table. There is some work from the brown 7 into the black 8. One of his bread and butters here. Another name that had like a couple-year run that really haven't heard a ton from. Now, it's always still getting great results, but you expect him to win is Yap, right? Aloysius Yap of Singapore. This is going to run a bit on him. This is going to get awkward. He may play a kiss shot, playing the black 8 off the 9 into the left middle. It just shows you where the game's going, right? When we're forgetting about talking about players like Yap and other players, it's so vast, the talent.
You've got so many players in that bracket, you're looking at them and thinking, yes, he's got the game to win a big title, but they're all running into the same problem, the fact that the guys who've been used to winning those titles over the last few years are still as good as ever. And you generally are going to have to beat maybe 2 or 3 of those very biggest names in the same week if you're going to win one of these, and it's just massively hard to do.
Yeah, that, and you have to have it all against many other players that are right below you or right at that same level. So, all right, looks like he's going to play the kiss. It doesn't appear too difficult to me. Maybe a hair of draw English. Doesn't have to hit it very hard. Yeah, it looked pretty natural. Shane very savvy with all those shots.
Well, Nuutinen had his chance, missed the 4 and didn't get back to the table, so a bit of daylight for the first time in the match. And despite his dry break, Shane van Boening leads 3-1. David Lilly has made it 2 out of 2 for the professional snooker players today. After Jack Lazowski's win earlier, Lilly has beaten Scott Hunter 9-1. But what a challenge facing him now. He'll take on Mario He of Austria in the next round. He, World Championship semi-finalist this year, 9-3 winner against Adam Lewis.
Another man who's really, really good player, great player, Rico Deeks, playing in the event. He's been living here in London for some 12 years probably, 12, 13 years. Dutch player.
Darren Appleton, who you were talking about earlier, great to see him back. He's level at 2-all against Talal Al-Blushi.
Now Shane didn't take much time to switch sides and going to more of that break we're used to. Wouldn't say 100%, but not backing off much.
Van Boening looking for his first big showing in a matchroom event this year. It's disappointing in the Premier League in Leicester. He finished 8th in that. You'd expect a format like that with so many matches, the likes of Van Boening would rise to the top, but it wasn't the week he was hoping for, and that came off the back of his last 16 defeat at the World Championship, where he was defending his title. Did win his first match at the World Masters. Finished strongly after early struggles to beat David O'Cady, but then lost his second match to Ko Pin Yi and went on to win the title.
And for Shane, of course, if you're in the Whirlpool Masters, any loss is not really that much of a, an underdog winning, right? And certainly Ko Pin Yi, but the concern there, which I leave behind pretty easily, is some of the shots that Shane played were very odd. Along with FSR in his first match, which he didn't get past it like Shane did, but I think Shane just kind of overdid it a little bit with all the traveling and whatnot. I know I remember, I'm sure you do, he was playing exceptional pool in Poland. It took one heck of a match from Huang to beat him.
Yeah, it was a bit like what happened to him here last year. Looked serene in the early rounds, but eventually came up against someone playing well who knocked him out. So Van Boening has given us our first break and run out of the match. And that's now 3 in a row for him. He leads 4-1. Albin Ocean is now 5-2 down against Phil Wildman. You called it, Jeremy. You said that was going to be a tough one for him. Certainly going that way at the moment.
Well, yeah, and who's all the pressure on? That's Albin Ocean. And that's mounting heavily, that pressure.
Lucius Yap, who we were talking about a few minutes ago, starting off nicely, 3-0 up against James Welch. And James Aranis now 6-2 up on Pier Francesco Garcia. Chris Melling, real stalwart of the scene. He's going well in an all-British clash against David Dean, leading at the moment by 6 racks to 1. Just one more score to give you. Juan Carlos Exposito, one of the ever-improving Spanish contingent on the tour, on the hill at 8-4 against Simon Ayres. Back here, a former world champion, SVB, leads 4-1.
Yeah, and something he's not used to. I believe his third dry break of the match.
Exposito has just won that match, incidentally. He's won the 13th rack to finish off Simon Ayres. And will now play Nguyen An Tan of Vietnam in the next round.
Yeah, he's got an offensive shot to play the one off the two. It's not hard. Of course, the offensive or the safety itself not difficult either, but looks like he's going to try and play the one into the two and run the cue ball safe, but not in love with it, to be honest with you. I think it's going to offer a pretty easy return kick, if not something better. I think shooting the one, if you're going to play safe, shoot the one between the green 6 and the purple 5. Drop the cue ball down a couple rails behind the blue 2. We'll see. Yeah, I like that one much better. Only problem is Shane's a favorite to hit it, and the blue 2 has got a lot of problems. May have tried the kiss shot there, the one off the 2, if I was Nuutinen. Looks like he's got to bend this kick shot a little bit, a little draw spin, and maybe a hair of right English. Didn't get enough on it. So now, does he play the three-way combination? Does he try to break open the blue 2? And both are available.
Yeah, reminder, if you're not familiar with 9-ball, all you've got to do is hit the lowest numbered ball remaining on the table first, and beyond that, any pot is legal and keeps you at the table. So you do have the option there, as you say, to play a 3-ball combination, pot the blue 2, but it looks as though he's going for the other option you mentioned. He's trying to break into them. Yeah, the 2 that way. Sorry, Jeremy.
Oh, it's okay, Michael. He could go to the top rail and split the 6 and the 2 and should come away with a shot. All a little speed control. Oh, he's missed the 1. Took his eye off the object ball. That happens so often. I was watching his technique and kind of a stunner of the ball a little bit. If you watch the backhand, looks like a pretty tight grip, which is something to try to stay away from. But when nerves get higher, we tend to grip a little bit more. So,
for sure, and just 1 or 2 little signs there after that last shot. You saw him talking to himself a bit, and you're not used to being out there. Very hard to keep your emotions under control when things start going against you.
Yeah, the great thing about these open events is we're going to have players kind of make their name out here from nowhere and continue on to end up becoming great players and players that could possibly win some of these tournaments one day.
Well, you look at that run Soufi had at the European Open last year. He wasn't really a familiar name at all, and performances like that obviously set him up well for the World Championship, where he went on that great run to the final. And back here, things continuing to go very much in Van Boning's direction.
The junior events that are alongside these wonderful big events, I think are going to introduce us to some names we're going to see for a long time. And as the sport grows, these players will grow, and it's going to be something special to watch.
Well, for those youngsters, great to play in the event, but then you would expect a lot of them, when they've been knocked out of it, will stay around and just spend some time around this environment, and that all helps in their development as well. So we've got the tournament with Jason Shaw's name on it at this event. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz has lent his name to the equivalent event we'll have in Spain in a few weeks' time, alongside the inaugural Spanish Open. And of course, SVB already has his own event in the US, which we saw for the first time last year.
Yeah, and you know, I can't speak for the snooker players just because I don't know as well, but I know compared to some other sports, the pool players are the great players, are some of the easiest to get next to and spend time with, and certainly with the juniors, they'll lend all the hands they can. And again, those events should grow more special every time we host one.
Oh yeah, it's a very friendly environment in that sense, with the top guys willing to chat to everyone, and occasionally they miss a ball like that.
Yeah, and it looked like he kind of had his mind on how I should play this and kind of decided why he was down on the ball. I think he can get at this. Oh, if he's got to swerve it now. Didn't want to catch too much of this and end up behind the 9. Wants just a little flick on the brown 7. Now he's gotten maybe too little of a flick. He's going to carry the cue ball way down table.
It's always so hard to predict, isn't it, what the cue ball is going to do when you're coming in and out of the pocket like that with the ball just sitting over it. Add in the swerve as well. And that was really hard to keep control of. So it needs to come with a big one here.
I don't know if you can, Michael, but I can immediately tell a difference in the 4-inch pocket here on day one. Saw a lot of those slide in. I guess last time we were on the diamond table was at the PLP, I believe it was.
I think we saw a lot of that actually in the Lazowski match earlier. He was failing on a lot of shots like that for that very reason, it seemed. Well, Nuutinen knows there's been a couple of racks now in this match. He's had a good chance to win. He's passed it up. And as a result, Van Boening is now past the halfway mark in his quest for victory here. He now leads by 5 racks to 1. Close match has just finished on table 12. Davy Pier Giovanni of Italy has beaten Slovenia's Ziga Kovac by 9 racks to 7. We'll now play Nikos Economopoulos, the experienced Greek player, in the next round. Moritz Neuhausen, who you were bigging up earlier, Jeremy, 6-1 in front of John Chapman. Darren Appleton has lost a few racks in a row there and now trails Talal Al-Bluchi 4-2. And Albin Ocean, real problems. He's 6-2 behind now against Phil Wildman.
Yeah, well, Phil's not going to, you know, he's just the type of guy, I've been around him quite a bit. He's not going to fear so much. Don't get me wrong, he knows big situation, easy to be a little nervous, but nervous is a lot different than fearing, right? So overall,
that's just gone 7-2 now to Wildman.
He was a little 500 to 1 prior to the event. All right, smash there, and I know we probably had one, but everyone was talking about the golden breaks there at the Whirlpool Masters, but now with the 26 tables we have here, I believe. Really haven't seen any on the main 2 tables and haven't heard of a lot on the outer tables.
Well, Lazowski had one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Early
missed
on
that
in
one.
his match, yeah.
That had to feel good for him, right?
Yeah, I think you were off for a break because you'd just done the previous match.
Yeah, I like Costa. Try to go find my Costa around here. Not hard to find in London.
I was in there earlier, actually. It's just next door. And incidentally, if you're thinking about coming down here, it's a wonderful location to come and watch a tournament. There's so much in the area as well. You can nip out for a while and see a bit of the area that staged the Olympics back in the summer of 2012. West Ham United, of course, the Premier League team, now play their matches in that stadium just next door.
I'd love to take a tour of that stadium, a little more inner tour, like a little more private, just see how it all works. It's probably pretty amazing. All right, tricky little shot here. Don't want to apply too much right spin. Just a hair with the draw stroke. It's got to go a bit. So the tester here, rack number 7.
So for the second time in 3 racks, it's a run out from the break for Shane van Boening, and he's now 6-1 in front against Juuso Nuutinen. So wins earlier for Jack Lazowski and David Lilley. The third member of the World Snooker Tour who's in action here today is Gary Wilson. He's just starting on table 13 against Joe Granville. Albin Ocean, as I was telling you, 7-2 behind against Phil Wildman. And you're drawing my attention to something, Jeremy. Golden break, is it?
No, Aranis just won his match on table 2. So we'll have another one coming up there for long. I think James is a guy to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, we'll have that great run, as we were saying, at the World Masters. Beat Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, Victor Zielinski on his way to the semis.
Another dry break. Hit those well. The one caught that side pocket, but did not fall. And everyone's kind of, I think, maybe asking a little much from Zielinski, thinking he should win one of these already, maybe one of these big multi-table matchroom events, but young man that obviously has a lot of great results. That's why people and players and some of us critics are saying that about him. But I think the tournaments where he's got to schedule his match a little more, it's just one match setting kind of thing at a time. He's got to lighten up, maybe not put so much pressure on himself. I definitely could see that at the Whirlpool Masters. He talked about his nerves, and he talked about it so much it almost felt like to me he was making himself a little overly nervous.
Yeah, it went very close at the Scottish Open over the weekend. Not an event of this stature, but still a very good field. He was beaten in the final by Jason Shaw.
Yeah, and his run in a bunch of good fields the last few years is why we talk about him so much, and maybe a little bit more here of late than any of the other Polish players, and there's so many great ones. Shane in a great position to add on to that lead. I think he can kill the cue ball one rail between the 8 and 9. It's the type of shot that's a little funny. You don't want to put a ton of speed, just kind of drift over. Yeah, you can do it easily. Of course, our main matches are something to watch, but again, Phil's still up 7-2 on Albin. That's probably the upset alert of round number 1.
Hard to see any potential for an upset here. Shane van Boening looking so comfortable out there now. And he's won half a dozen racks in a row at this stage. He needs 7-1. And if, as now seems quite inevitable, he does get through. At the moment, it looks as though he'll be playing Tobias Bolt in the next round. Bolt leading 6-2 against Stephen Della Pietra. on table 8. Alban Ocean has got one back. He needed it. He's won rack 10. He's 7-3 down now to Phil Wildman. And Lucius Yap, another player we were keeping an eye on, 4-1 in front against James Welch. John Morra, who's probably in that category of players who could potentially, given the right circumstances, win a big title. Also with a 4-1 advantage over Sean Beresford.
Yeah, well, I think John has even improved his game in these, big matchroom settings. Played exceptionally well in Poland. Really lost an incredible match to Mario He. And they both played exceptional. Big win over Jason Shaw there as well. Was that the final 16 maybe, I think it was. And he's got the one down. He's made another. He's going to get some type of shot on the blue 2. So little choices here. Does he shoot the blue 2 in the side and draw into the pink 4? Or does he just play it cleanly up into the corner?
Looking to run out from the break for the 3rd time in this match. The last time he did it was a couple of racks ago. He got 3 balls down on the break. Have you ever known a player who's so prolific at making 3-4 balls off the break on such a regular basis?
No, just because he gets to break more than most everyone, just because of how deeper runs he makes in so many events. And Jeffrey DeLuna, I guess, is the only other name that kind of comes to mind with, repeatedly. It seems like he's got a highlight reel of some sort or another, making 5-6 balls on the break. I don't think Jeffrey's here this week, though. Don't recall seeing his name on the player list.
Shane Van Boening, though, is very much here and growing in strength as his opening contest goes on. It was level at 1-1, but since then it's been all Van Boening, and he now leads 8-1. Alban Ocean still playing that 11th rack against Phil Wildman, keeping a close eye on that one because Wildman is leading 7-3. Imran Majid, who reached the last 16 here last year, now in his 50s, Imran, but he's 6-2 up against Alim Khan of Bangladesh. Tobias Bongers of Germany is on the hill, 8-0 against Sunesh Garib of South Africa. And Chris Melling on the hill with an 8-1 lead over David Dean. Gary Wilson, Scottish Open snooker champion, has just taken the opening rack of his match against Joe Granville. Back here, Shane Van Boening only needs one more to advance.
And I think Imran has gotten better as he's gotten a little older, I think. He handles the nerves a little better. Appears he's going to have a shot on the blue 2. Nothing easy all the way up in the top left. And maybe the 3's actually got him cut off a piece. We'll see.
Hard to tell anything much really about Van Boening's chances this week from a match like this.
Yeah, and really set aside the Whirlpool Masters. Now, it was the last time we saw him play, so that has some merit in itself, but really he's played in what I think just as well as he always plays. It's just hard to keep winning. You got to have some things go your way, and of course there's so many great players. So, if a little of the rolls break even, I expect him to be on what y'all call the business end of these events, and this one here as well.
And it looks as though he's going to finish the match having run out from the break 4 times. That's a pretty accomplished display in anyone's book. Nuutinen had his chances early on. You think back to that 4-ball that he missed in the 4th rack when he had a chance to level at 2-2, and it's not the only good opportunity he's passed up. But it is hard for these guys out there, playing someone like Van Boening, who's so used to being on the main table, playing in front of cameras with a bit of a crowd, bit of profile.
And I'll tell you, for a guy like Shane and some other of the top players, I don't want to make any mistakes, but I think leaving the mistake behind is going to show a lot this week with the tougher pockets. Think about a lot with golf and how good a lot of those players are when they do finally make a mistake. They rebound so quickly, and same here in 9-ball pool.
Yeah, nobody better at that in golf over the years, I think, than Tiger Woods, and that's why he's, certainly in my book, the greatest player there's ever been. Shane Van Boening will be in that conversation when it comes to pool, and he's produced a very fine display here in the end, really. 8 racks in a row from 1-all to see off Juuso